Hey guys, it's your girl J Antoinette and welcome back to another video. So in this video today guys, I'm going to be talking about yeast infections. We're going to talk about the symptoms that you have when you have a yeast infection, and we're also going to talk about some treatments, natural treatments as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, give this video a thumbs up. And let's get straight into this video. Alright guys, so as I said, we're going to be talking about yeast infection. So a yeast infection is basically a fungal infection that can cause swelling and irritation of the vulva and also the vaginal canal. So yeast infections are very common. I think it's every 3 in 4 women will get a yeast infection. It is not necessarily considered a sexually transmitted disease because it can be caused by various other things. So some of the causes are, if you are diabetic, you can be prone to have a yeast infection. Persons who have polycystic ovarian syndrome are also very prone to have yeast infections as well. If you are pregnant, you can get a yeast infection. And if there is just an imbalance between your natural and your good bacteria in the vagina, you can get a yeast infection as well. So it is not all just bad, and it's not to be classified as an actual sexually transmitted disease. So some of the symptoms of a yeast infection could be itching and irritation in the vagina and the vulva, a burning sensation in the vagina, redness and swelling of the vulva, a vaginal rash, watery vaginal discharge, or clumpy white discharge coming from the vagina. So if you notice any of these things, ladies, then it is possible that you could be having a yeast infection. Some of the things that also can onset a yeast infection is heat and sweating. So especially now that we're entering into the summertime, it is important, ladies, that if you are persons who like to work out like myself, it is important that after you exercise that you must change or get off those wet clothes, as it can lead to inducing a yeast infection. All right, so yeast is a fungi that likes moisture. It likes warmth. So any area that it is warm, it will stay and it will manifest itself, and it will over proliferate and grow and become a very nasty infection. So those are some of the symptoms that are associated with having a yeast infection. Now, a complicated yeast infection. So if you get a really complicated yeast infection where it gets to the point where the area is very itchy, it becomes very scarred, and if you actually have tears on the vaginal area, you will need to see your doctor. So disclaimer before I go any further, I am a medical personnel. I'm a medical technologist by profession, but no, I am not a medical doctor. So any information that I impart on, guys, you can go ahead and take it to your medical doctors and they will give you some better insight, okay? So if it gets to that complicated stage, you will definitely need to see your doctor. And in some cases, most of the time, pregnant women do notice that they can get really complicated complicated yeast infections. Why am I thinking about UTIs? But yes, in pregnant women, you will notice that you will have a lot of yeast infections. If you have diabetes and it is uncontrolled, please see your doctor if you're having constant yeast infections. Now, a woman who has 3 or more yeast infections in a year, that is considered complicated yeast infections. So you will need to see your doctor. And if you are HIV positive, you also are prone to get yeast infections and you need to consult your doctor for treatment as well. All right, so in terms of treatment, ladies, no, there are some over-the-counter treatments. For example, Monistat is one of those over-the-counter treatments that you can get to relieve yourself if you have a mild yeast infection. So if you have a mild yeast infection, some of those over-the-counter drugs can be very helpful in that case. But in cases where it can be very severe, you will have to see your doctor. So some of the more familiar treatments that your doctor can give you is a medication called fluconazole, which is used to treat fungi. All right, so that will definitely clear up your infection, and it will have you feeling happy and just ready to go out there and deal with everyday life all over again. All right, so that is one of the major treatments that you can get. Now, a topical treatment that you can use that is very helpful, for example, if you get rashing down there or if it gets very sore, is a canesten cream. There are some other generic names. I'm going to put some pictures here so that you can see them. So these creams are very helpful on the area, and they actually help to reduce the swelling and the rashes and the itching. All right, and now that I'm on the topic of that, guys, I know it is hard, but if you do have a yeast infection and you do feel the urge to itch, try your best not to itch, because at that time you can cause a breakage into the skin, and that way the yeast can actually get into your bloodstream. So it is important that if you are having a very, very itchy yeast infection, that you try your best not to scratch it too much. Okay. So yes, we talked about when you need to see your doctor and all of that. So let's talk about some other types of causes of yeast infection. So if you have just finished a course of antibiotics, it is possible that because of the antibiotics, it can cause you to have a yeast infection. So some of these things are not only induced by everyday lifestyle, but also by medical problems as well. All right, as I said before, if you are pregnant, if you have uncontrolled diabetes, if you have an impaired immune system, so not only HIV positive, but other immune system depleting viruses or bacterium that are in the body, you can get yeast. And if you're taking oral contraceptives that give you an increased level of estrogen, you also are prone to getting yeast infections. All right, so how to prevent yourself from getting yeast infection? Ensure that you are wearing cotton panties. So the importance of wearing cotton panties, ladies, is because the area needs to breathe. So it needs air. So if you're hot and sweating, you have the area locked up all the time, it is clearly not getting any air. So the area needs to breathe. And on the case of that, if it is possible, it is important that you try not to wear tight fitting pants all the time. So it's important that you either wear skirts or dresses, something where the area is going to be able to breathe. So that is very important. All right, refrain from douching. No, I'm not sure who still does this, but you need to refrain from douching, because that completely throws off your pH altogether, and that can also give you a yeast infection. Prevent from using scented feminine products. Now, I need to do a topic on this, okay? So scented feminine products, whether it be panty liners, pads, washes, anything like that that is heavily scented or has a heavy fragrance in it, can give you a yeast infection, and this is because of the sugar content in it. Okay, so anything like that, ensure that you're not putting it on or into your vagina. So and also, as I said earlier, using or having heavy wet clothes on for a long period of time, that also can lead you to having a yeast infection. So how is it diagnosed? All right, so a yeast infection can be diagnosed by your doctor, which is done by a pelvic examination. So basically, when you go to your OBGYN, she will examine you, put in the speculum and look into your vagina, and she probably will put 2 fingers in there and try and get some of that discharge, and based on what she sees, she will then test you and send off a sample to the lab, a vaginal swab, and after it has done its growth for 48 hours, then the lab will be able to tell you if you have a yeast infection or not. Okay, but before even all of that, they can give you your treatment. As I said before, you can get fluconazole, which is more of like a single dose type of medication, or you can use something over the counter like Monistat and use your creams for the topical areas. Now, there are some alternative medicines for yeast infections. No, it is not necessarily prescribed by your doctor, but some doctors will suggest that you go ahead and use boric acid capsules if you are having really bad yeast infections. Okay, so if you're having it continuously and it is really bad, they will advise you to use boric acid capsules. Okay, this is the brand that I have. Right, there are many brands, you can get them on Amazon and they work really well. All right, so guys, I know it is something that is uncomfortable, and I know it's something that can actually stop you from enjoying your everyday life, but I hope these tips were very helpful, and the different treatments as well, so that you know you can have a better discussion with your doctor about what you know about yeast infections and who and what kind of treatment you want to get. So guys, I really thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate your love and your support. Don't forget to share my videos, and also look me up on Instagram and give my pictures a like. You can always send me a DM if you have any questions. I appreciate you all so much. Bye, my love.